hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the Boar Hat Tavern Podcast, a podcast all about Seven Deadly Sins Grand Cross. I'm your host, Daz, and I'm joined today by the co-hosts of the podcast, Sandyy and Novage. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about the one. It's the one you've been waiting for, the One Escanor. We're going to be talking about his pal Green Arthur, who is also around the corner, like he's here with this banner as well, right? And we're all getting a free copy of him too, so I'm sure people want to know what he's about. We're going to talk about some other little patch notes, potpourri stuff, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Sandy's got a poem that she wrote, an ode to Estarossa, because she lost last week's Jeopardy episode. So kudos to Novage for winning that one. I can't wait to hear Sandy's poem. And then for the fun little segment at the end, we're going to do a 20 questions. Continuing to rip off old parlor games, we're going to go with the 20 questions. I think that'll be fun. So, Novage, this is new for us because usually it's maintenance when we're chatting on the show here, but maintenance actually ended like a couple hours ago. So my big question is, have you resisted the urge to pull for the one as quickly as possible? Have you pulled for him yet?
I actually have not pulled for him yet. I've actually had bad luck pulling right away. So I'm hoping I'm trying a different tactic this time, that I'm just going to kind of wait for it. And kind of when the moment's there, I'm going to go for it and hopefully I pull a copy.
Rub that lucky rabbit's foot or do whatever kind of dancing rituals you do to get that luck up there. I'm all for it. How about you, Sandyy? Have you pulled for him yet?
Oh, I went in gems a-blazing. I have pulled for him. I got one dupe, just one, and I'm releasing that video. First time kind of doing that type of content, but it was super fun. I mean, one of my pulls, I got 4 SSRs, but none of them was the one. So that was a big shaft.
There are some pretty good units on this banner too. Did you get any like good dupes or any new characters that you were looking for?
I got the new Green Arthur, so that adds to my box. I mean, I'm still striving for that 4 mil box CC.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you there, saying too. I got the one dupe of Escanor too, which I was pretty happy with. If you go full 900 gems, I think you're lucky if you get one dupe. Like if you're more than a little lucky if you get more than one. So that's kind of what I use as my benchmark. If I get one dupe, I'm happy, and I'm pretty happy. So speaking,
were you able to finish anyone off, Daz?
No, I did get my Lost Fame Meliodas to 6/6 and my Goddess Liz 6/6, which was nice. I actually pulled 3 Lost Fames on my 900 gem spend, so I was pretty happy there. 2 of them are now those special coins that I can hold on to do an exchange for a festival unit, which is pretty exciting. Of course, you need 3, so it'll probably have to be next festival banner because I don't think I'm done on this one. But next festival banner, Assault Melee, maybe I'll pull another Lost Fame or Goddess Liz or something, and I can use those 3 coins to get an extra copy of the one. So hey, I'm pretty excited. I feel like a whale when I see that little extra like special coin, the festival coin in the coin shop. So speaking of the one, let's delve into this a little bit, because let's be honest, that's all anyone wants to hear or talk about right now. So it'd be kind of crazy if we didn't talk about him right away. So the one, we got the new festival banner that just popped. You spend 900 gems, you get 1 guaranteed. You can also get a Goddess Liz if you'd rather. You probably wouldn't rather, but who knows? Maybe you want to get your Goddess Liz if you haven't had a chance to get it before. Maybe you'll get some Escanors on the way up and you're like, hey, I've already got my Escanors, so let's get an extra Goddess Liz there. But either way, he's here. The banner rates are pretty low, like we mentioned before. Don't expect if you spend 300 gems, you're going to get the one. Maybe you will. Maybe you'll be lucky, right? I got one, my first 150 approximately too, but you never know. Along with Escanor, we also got the new part of the story that popped in. I came into the game and it started showing me cutscenes. I was like, no, I want to go summon on the one. I hate skipping that stuff too. So I felt like I had to watch the video of the new chapters, like the preview for the next chapter. But either way, you got the new banner up. So I'm going to go over a bit of a character breakdown of the one. So he is all about single target damage, and no one does it better than our Big Daddy Escanor. He's got one card called Super Slash. This is his big one. Single target damage, and it has a new card moniker to it. I don't know what you call those. It's called influx damage. You do more damage per percent HP remaining. Just remember, everyone, that's percent HP. It's not like raw HP. So like HP def sets aren't going to give you like extra damage because you've got higher HP values. It's percent remaining. So 100%, I think, you know, if you have 100% health left, that's like 80% extra attack modifier to it. So it's a pretty heavy hitting ability. We've also got Supernova, which is just a pure single target damage card. It's not as strong as Super Slash because it doesn't have the influx damage, but it is just hit him hard, hit him fast, wipe him off the board. His ult is pretty cool too. Divine Sword Escanor. This is a single target ult, and after it hits, and it hits hard, it also does additional death damage at the end. So once it hits once, if you kill the guy, it'll do damage to somebody else. If you hit a guy hard and it procs Goddess Liz's passive, the guy revives, it'll hit him again. And if you've got a 6/6 Escanor, if that's like your thing, it'll hit just as hard that second time as it does the first time. If you have lower level ult, it's like 20, 30, 40%, like that kind of range. But still, like you're going to at least delete a character and do some serious damage to a second because that ult is hitting hard. His passive is super cool too. 6% all stats buff. This isn't like, we're not talking attack, defense, HP buff. We're talking all stats. Talking like recovery rate, lifesteal, crit damage, crit resist, like everything. 6% all stats buff on the start of your turn. Once you have 3 of those stacks, all debuffs are removed and he's immune to debuffs for 1 turn. like that's just nuts. After that, it starts going down from 3 stacks to 2 stacks to 1 stack, back up again, and the cycle continues over and over again. But either way, it's like he's got like a free green Gother hiding behind him, right, as part of his passive, plus all the extra stats you get from it too, which is nuts. So what do you guys think of this dude? We've all been waiting for him, and like now that I've actually got to look into him a little bit more, I can see why. What do you think, Novage? Like, is he worth the hype?
I definitely think he is. I can't wait to test him out in different aspects of the game, from PvE to PvP to, just, throwing him into the Tower of Trials that, he may be able to make it a lot easier. I actually have not attempted it yet. I was actually waiting for him to see if him and Arthur can kind of just clear it pretty easy for me. And now that they have some event food that were mentioned later, that might even throwing that into the mix to kind of see how they steamroll through that tower.
How about you, Sandy? What do you think? He's worth the hype or no?
Oh, he's insane. Especially his ult. He's just like, who decided that? Like, just because you ult, it's one and done. Like, no, he's going to inflict additional death damage afterward. So you think you survived by a sliver? Well, think again. And I think he's just OP.
It's crazy. Usually when games release these super OP characters, everyone's complaining, but no one's complaining about the One Escanor, partially probably because he's Escanor and everyone loves Escanor. So, and he's a big beefy dude. We know Sandy likes shirtless males, so obviously there's that bonus for Sandy. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and like unfortunately we haven't had a lot of time to take him for a spin yet. But even just on the limited content in the past couple hours, I've been having a lot of fun hitting really hard with the guy. So just a few other things to note about Escanor. Merlin is there's a few links you can use with him. He really relies on crit damage. His crit chance is really high, and he boosts it himself. And a lot of people use him alongside Green Gother to like increase his not only crit damage but crit chance as well. So you want to really make sure you're getting those crits. So one of the best links for him is actually Merlin, because she gives crit chance link to make that a little bit more reliable, depending on what your setup ends up being. We'll be talking about that in a second. 2 other common associations you can use with him. You can use Sariel, who's got his Grace, which reduces crit defense, I think, upon a successful critical hit. Something along those. Makes him hit harder. Or Dim Meliodas also is a great link for him because he gives bonus attack. So you can pick and choose between those 3. If you're looking for reliable crits, you go for Merlin. If you want a little bit more attack, you go for Dim Meli or Sariel if you want to hit even harder with his crits. In terms of gearing, Escanor can be geared in 2 ways, and there's arguments for both. I'm going to ask Sandy and Novage in a second which one they think's best, but the 2 ones you're looking at is HP crit or attack crit. Crit is almost always used in the secondary set because he is such a crit based character, you're going to hit a lot harder if you get that extra crit damage based on the crit set. Sandyy, Novage, what do you guys think? HP, do you go for the CC boost of the HP, make him a little bit beefier? Or do you guys think you're going to be going like attack crit with Escanor here? Sandyy, why don't we go to you first? What do you think?
I honestly think either way, he's just a beast. But the HP crit is mainly for players who are very high PvP based. Because in PvP, if you're in the challenger mode or the top 100, having that CC boost and going first really kind of determines the fight. So I think the HP crit, you're just aiming to go first, and I mean you just can't kill the man. But no shame in just making two. I mean, attack crit, you can take that in the PvE content, and HP crit for when you just want to battle some players.
How about you, Novage? Do you have the same kind of thoughts on this?
Pretty solid on the attack crit. I think either way you go, I think he'll be a monster, like Sandy's saying. But I personally, because I've already did attack defense for the previous Escanor, it'd just be a little minimum investment on that part, and may down the road, depending if I go heavy on PvP, and if that's the environment that becomes where people are running around with HP defenses and HP crits, then I probably have to adapt to that. But for now, probably going to go with attack crit so I could test them out on some PvE content.
I do imagine that's the way most people will end up going, like you said, just because other Escanors, presumably if you've been playing the game for a while, you probably, like Escanor was probably one of the first people you actually gave UR gear to her, and it was likely attack defense, right? So you just have to sub out those two extra defense pieces for crit damage pieces, and you're golden. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do as well. It's almost too bad too, because he is a little squishy, which is surprising considering he's the one you'd expect he'd have. But I mean, you can't be good at everything, right? But he is a little on the squishier side. He doesn't have this like massive HP pool, which you might expect, right? So there is a good argument for the HP set just to give him a little bit of extra tankiness. But hey, he's your damage dealer. You like those big numbers. If you're hitting hard, attack crit's the way to go. So let's talk about some teams that work well for him. So a lot of people have them now. They're like, okay, now you got to figure out how to slot him in to your PvP teams. Well, first off, he's really good on Red Demon, and I can't wait to see what ends up being like the best kind of comp for him on Red Demon, but he will really speed that up. We're not going to go into that in too much detail. We're going to be more talking about the PvP side of things. But in PvP, some of the good complementary units, and you can kind of like mix and match. Green Gother, he's great everywhere, right? But since Escanor is a human unit, you can mix and match, fairies, giants, angels, whatever you want to do, right? Or not angels, goddesses, to go along with Escanor. You can get an extra buff from the Green Gother, not to mention attack buff, crit chance buff and crit damage buff. Like it's like Green Gother and the one are almost made for each other. So in most cases, you're going to see him paired with Green Gother or sometimes Red Gother. Death Pierce in the sub slot, make those crits more reliable. Ludociel, if you can get your Ludociel to out CC people, is amazing because he kind of does what Death Pierce does, but in the front line, right? And he's actually a useful unit. He makes those crits a lot more reliable, and you're going to be like one-shotting two characters on turn one with the One Escanor, if you've got Green Gother, Ludociel, and the one. So those are a few characters that kind of go with him. Some other things you can do too is a lot of people pair him up with a secondary, a strong attacker like a Sariel or a Lost Fame Meliodas, or even sometimes a Goddess Liz too if you're worried about him surviving. So those are kind of the typical comps you're going to see. I'm not sure which one's going to be the most popular. I guess we'll kind of see as the meta shakes out. So just the comp teams are down here: Escanor, Goddess Liz, Green Gother, Death Pierce in the back, Escanor, Green Gother, Sariel, and Green Liz in the back. Goddess Liz in the back too. Another nice thing about having two attack options is, like, let's say you're facing a counter team or a team where Escanor doesn't really shine, because there are some that we're going to talk about in a bit. It's nice having a red unit to be able to counter that presumably green unit that we're going to talk about that you're up against. What do you guys think? Do you think one of these teams, what do you think is the most common composition that we're going to see of like these ones that we're talking about here? Sandyy, do you have any idea what you think?
Yeah, I mean it's toxic. I'm looking at, the one green uh Sariel, and just Goddess Liz, man. That's gonna be so hard.
That's a cool one too, because okay, if you've got the One Escanor, Green Gother, and Sariel, presumably depending on what the other team's comp is, they're probably going to try and get Escanor down first. If he dies, Liz pops out of the sub slot, gives Sariel death protection, and then suddenly you've got a Godless Green Gother Sariel's composition, which is pretty good. Obviously, Green Gother's passive stops working, but still, you still have that secondary threat. That's a great one if you don't go first, right? A lot of these PvP comps work really well if you go first, but you have to have like a contingency sometimes, especially if you're not confident of always going first. Novage, is there a comp that you like better than the rest?
The one you guys just mentioned, that one seems kind of situational, and kind of knowing that you probably won't out CC the other opponent, and it kind of throws them off a little bit when Goddess Liz comes in. But all different ones that you mentioned, I think there's so much that you could do. I mean, when someone has this identical team as you may see different styles of playing of how they use that team, and you kind of adapt to that as well. But it's definitely going to be a different environment in both geared and ungeared.
So Lost Veins and Sariels are crapping their pants right now because suddenly there's a big blue unit that's going to be hitting them really hard, which is it's tough, right? So I think this meta is really going to get shaken up a little bit. I think we're going to see a lot less glue eaters, which is great. We might get sick of seeing the Escanor everywhere, but hey, that's a problem for another day. Let's talk about counter teams because, hey, maybe you decide I'm going to skip this banner. I'm just going to troll all these One Escanors with a solid counter team because they're going to be running rampant. The one best counter that everyone has identified, and people have been running this in JP for a while as a One Escanor counter, is Green Deanne. She is an amazing tank taunt unit, especially if you go first with her. You set up a taunt. It's a taunt for 3 turns on her level 1, and it buffs her HP related stats. And it also makes it so it's like, not HP, defense related stats. So it makes it almost impossible to get crit on. She's got type advantage against the One Escanor. So you can hide other units behind your Green Deanne. She's tiny, but they hide behind her still. And you can just let them do their work while the Escanor is just getting frustrated as hell trying to break that Green Deanne down. And it ain't happening. So a lot of people would pair with Green Deanne, Green Gother, and then a damage dealer. You can pick Lost Meliodas, you can go Sariel, you can go the One. Hey, you can do whatever you want, right? Because no one's going to be hitting them unless it's like an AoE, and likely those AoEs probably aren't going to be hitting you hard enough to kill that damage dealer. And if you want to make it even tankier, you can toss a Green Gill Thunder. Haven't heard that guy in a while. Toss him in the sub slot, make Green Deanne even that much stronger. Green Deanne's great too if you have Tarmiel. Great link for Deanne because then she'll be using his grace to heal by her defense value, which is going to be high because presumably you're running her on HP defense or triple defense even. So she'll be healing up as the Escanor is like hammering with this pan, and nothing's going to happen. So great counter team if you want to troll these Escanors. Toss in a Green Deanne. I think I'm going to be running this comp more than the One Escanor just to start, just for fun, because I know a lot of people probably won't even like realize it's a counter like in the first few days. Novage, what do you think? Are you going to try dusting off that green fighter Deanne, or are you going to be just trying to stomp them with the One?
Actually, since I don't have him yet, I might also, as you mentioned, take her out. She's one of the units I actually invested in early on for a sub for Blue King. So I've already have her ready to go in a sense. So it's going to be kind of fun to see her out and about again.
One of the big problems with Green Deanne, though, is turns out if you got a Sariel or a Lost Meliodas in the other team, suddenly she's not looking as hot. So it's almost like a rock, paper, scissors play here, right? So I guess a lot of people will be looking to be like, hey, are there more rocks or papers or scissors in the meta currently? And then you just, you play the appropriate counter and just kind of hope. Because I don't think this Deanne team is going to work that well against Glue Eaters. Do you think it's got a chance there, Sandy, against the Glue Eaters, this Deanne team, the Escanor counter?
I mean, it can. if you're kind of a whale out there. I know Guild Wars can't really compare that due to, the essence buffs on them, but I had a lot of trouble taking down that small fighter Green Deanne. So I can just see how she can be used as a counter for the one. And I've used her before, and she's all maxed out on cosmetics, so I might be trolling.
Yeah, and also if you don't have Green Fighter Deanne or you don't have her built out, another option you can always go with is like an Estarossa team. Problem with Estarossa is his taunt isn't for more than like a turn or two, right? Depending on your level. So it's a little bit more difficult to pull it off as opposed to your Deannes of the world with level 1 3-turn taunt, which is absolutely phenomenal. All right. So I think that's probably about it for the one. Do you guys want to talk about him a little bit more, or do you think he just kind of stands for himself as his hulking presence? Good move on.
I think a lot of people are out there right now testing them out.
Definitely. Yeah, and like I said, I almost want to like end this show early just so we can get back to testing out the One Escanor. All right, let's move along to his lesser hyped counterpart, Green Arthur. Sandy, you want to talk about Green Arthur? You pulled one of them.
I did. So new Green Arthur, you get him actually fully awakened 6 stars, level 80 after completing the One Festival Special Missions, Part 1. I mean, you can't complain about free, right? And for his character breakdown, we're just going to go through it real fast. He's not like top tier. He's great in PvE. So if you get him along the way to getting the one, then hey, win-win. But his purple attack, when upgraded to a rank 2, actually disables buffs and debuff skills. That's fine. His other card is just a Silent Slash, which is an AoE. And his passive, which this is what I think is worth it for PvE, is Justice, which increases allies' damage dealt by 35% and decreases allies' damage taken by 30% if all allies are alive on the field. This does exclude PvP and death matches, but can you just imagine taking him and the one like Novage was talking about to the Tower of Trials?
That would be
you think,
amazing.
Daz?
That would be amazing. Like I think this like changes the PvE land. Can you imagine if this was a passive that worked in PvP? Suddenly he would be a monster. But yeah, in PvE, I just can't wait. Like Tower of Trials did the same thing as Novage. I was like, I'm gonna wait until Green Arthur and the one are out because it's gonna make that push to the end a lot easier.
Yeah, and for any new players too, I really think that they kind of have trouble as the story progresses on. It does get a lot harder to get those, and then with the last patch, right, you can continue for free one time in the story, and now you have Green Arthur and the one to be able to defeat those story chapters for you. So I don't know, maybe having them on there might make getting that HP title from the Tower of Trials a little bit more attainable. Definitely going to be utilizing him and the event food, which I'll talk about right after this. So if you've been having just difficulty with the tower, I think it's just going to be easy peasy with Green Arthur and the one. Great PvE character.
Definitely. Do you want to talk about the food that we can cook that makes it even that much easier?
Yes. Now I get to do all my Akumu runs again on Guild Boss. So you guys have been reading the patch notes. You saw that there was a special recipe event. So there are 3 special recipes. They are excluded in deathmatch and PvP. So no, you can't take these godly food and try to just mark on everybody. But one of the foods is a champagne flute, which gives you immunity to alt gauge reduction effect. So that means for those of us, the fellow sins out there that don't have a latte 6 out of 6, we can attempt the strat. And then the next food, which are chocolate balls, gives you negative 40% in damage received. So that's just great PvE. You can take that. Tower Trials again, finish that story, chapter 16, real fast. And the flan cake looking one gives you plus 40% damage dealt. Oh my goodness, where are these coming from? uh, that's insane. I mean, can you imagine going back and doing the final boss Merlin? Maybe I can try to get top 3, beat those hackers, you think? But again, keep in mind, it seems that these special recipes are only during the event stage. So they will disappear. Don't hoard them. I'm pretty sure some of you are like me where you're just going to run through that food. And you actually get the ingredients, but from fighting the Green Fat Man, or his true name, the demonic beast Grayon? Hope I'm saying that right. But good segue. So I'll move on to that. So the demonic beast Grayon, he's actually a red unit. So this is kind of like Guild Boss. So you get to have 4 characters on the field already. Definitely utilize the one since he is blue going against, a red unit, or Red Escanor if you haven't pulled the one. Lilia, Red Small Deanne, and Red Slater. And the reason behind this is that the Green Fat Man, he isn't immune to debuffs. So, you can attack disable him with Red Gother. The Slater debuff disable, and I mean, you can stun him with Goddess Liz. But I think that's the team that I'll be trying out just to see, quick and easy. Dairy Queen, I don't know if she's going to be this great because he does stun, and that gets annoying where you're trying to build up her buffs and you just can't do anything unless you take in a healer, right? But that's where you'll be getting the ingredients to be able to cook those 3 foods right there for the special event.
I was going through the Green Fat Man a couple times before the show, and Red Slater on phase 2 just makes it a joke because I'm pretty sure all he does is debuff. So or maybe it's mostly just debuffing. But you throw up Red Slater's like everything but attack seal debuff seal, and it just makes it so he can't really do anything, and you just sit there and chip away until you get your ults, and you ult, and he's dead. So it's a good feeling whenever you can like debuff bosses like this. It makes it a lot easier. But let's talk about this latte strat, because to be honest with you, like when we talk about Akumu and we watch Sandy's most recent videos for getting like maximum points on Akumu hard and extreme, and to be honest with you, as soon as I heard you go over the requirements and people start saying you need a 6/6 a latte, you need a 6/6 Easton or close to 6/6 so Easton and lattes, I tune out. I'm like, okay, this isn't for me. I can't do this, but this food makes it possible, because one of the big things about having those 6/6 lattes, the reason you needed it is because her ult gives like insane defense and resistance to everybody, so everyone could like patience Akumu once the arms are dead, right? And he's doing this like crazy blasting and draining everybody's ults, just going crazy. And I get scared when he starts going to that crazy mode. But now you don't have to be, because you can eat this ult food and you can maintain those ults past the first turn into phase 2, which suddenly means like, okay, you don't have to patience. I mean, like obviously you don't want to take a lot of damage, but you don't have to patience the boss when he's going like into crazy mode. You can just eat this food and you can still go through and you can dairy ult at the end once he loses his invincibility, and you can still score high. So this opens the strategy up to pretty much everybody, because you don't even need like, I don't think you even have to use a latte. You can take different comps in now, just anything that can potentially assist on Dairy getting a big ult or a crit or whatever, and maybe not critting, you can still get high scores too. So Sandy, is this really opening up this strat to everybody?
It is. It is really opening up that strat. I mean, it's going to make it so much easier, and you're not going to have to spend, that nightmare of resources and debating whether you need to super awaken a latte, for 4 stars. You don't need to put her on triple defense or do all of these things, And I think it's making it a little bit more free to play, where I guess that's why they're putting it in a short amount of time. I think we're going to be able to have it for the Guild Wars qualification. I hope so. Because the latte strat, getting her 6/6, I know a lot of us are just like, oh, we don't need her, And using her for Kelak, we didn't want her to do as much damage anyways. So we're like, I don't need to get her ult up. Many of us don't have her dupe 6/6. Lucky for those who do, but now those who don't can attempt this strat.
It really seems like Netmarble, with this patch specifically, has really changed the PvE landscape quite a bit. Because not only this patch, but last patch too, because we got Hawk. His 50% stats boost thing is currently active. We got you get one continue for free. We've got Green Arthur, who's God mode in PvP, along with Escanor or whoever you want to pair with the guy, right? Like that damage reduction is insane. And we've also got all this food that is crazy in PvE mode. Like PvE today is 100 times easier than it was 2 weeks ago. And it almost makes me feel like a fool for completing the story a couple weeks ago, because it would have been so much easier now. Like, is this making it too easy though? Like, I don't know, Novage, what do you think? Like, is this just, do you like these changes? Do you like where they're going? Because they obviously have this agenda here where they're trying to push PvE in a certain direction.
I actually enjoyed the challenges. As I mentioned in the last podcast, I'm waiting for Final Boss Bond, who's the hardest of the bunch. It's fun to me, so I still will continue the chapters, probably without Green Arthur, just for the challenge. I think you're right about the agenda. They're probably adding these units for the individuals that may have started later in the game and don't have quite the options of different units to kind of mix and match when you're facing, some characters that, they just change the same character you're fighting, but, it's a different, color. It's a red unit, blue unit, and, having to mix around and kind of adapt to that with what units you have. Sometimes some people may not have that luxury. So if they're getting the Green Arthur, I'm sure it will help a lot in those scenarios.
It's a great catch-up mechanic, that's for sure. And it's one thing that, as the three of us have been playing for, quite a while now, I guess we kind of can lose sight on. And that's a really great point, Novage, too, because some people may have just been playing for the past few weeks, right? And they get frustrated because they can only get to a certain part in the story mode. And as you progress in the story, there's a lot of great rewards and such that are unlocked, too. Like, you don't want to make it too easy, but you also want to make it more accessible to people who haven't been playing since day one. So there's a few more kind of like miscellaneous patch notes. Do you want to take us through the scraps here, Novage?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people probably have already logged in. I would recommend you guys probably have a little less than an hour now to take advantage of some of the events that's going to reset in 1 hour. For one of them is the Hawk Awesome Treasure Chest. It's under the One Festival icon in the tavern. You click there, and then you see the Hawk icon and some chests. You basically, what you're doing is you're just kind of getting free stuff from just clicking the chest. And you're allowed to do that once a day. I believe there's 9 chests. If you haven't done it already, I would do it right now. So you could do it again in an hour for those rewards. As well as the Hawk Pass, that also was updated. It kind of was back to back. We just went through one, and now we have another one. It's a good bang for your buck. And they also added the green cheering uniform for Elizabeth. So if you're a collector and you like your units matching for the other ones that we're getting for like King, Gother, and Meliodas, there you go. It's another thing to add to your collection. But yeah, I think that's it. I know there's a Fort Soldress reward dungeon plus. I'm not too sure. I haven't had a chance to see what that is. Yeah, I think the last thing that Daz you mentioned was that there's in the patch notes they said something about an ultimate champion cheering event. They didn't give much description, but I believe when you go into the tavern and you kind of look at your buffs, they're kind of just allowing the One Escanor to be a usable unit in some of the cases where you're allowed to kind of use an assistant for one of your missions. And I think you have to, he's only allowed after a certain chapter. So that's exactly what that was. It was a little confusing. They have so many things going on.
That'd be like, assuming they are doing that, that's a great thing I think they should do in general. Like, it'd be great if you had the banner units as free assistants, right? So you could take a character out for a spin. Like, you can take him out on just like a random farming trip to go get some food farming, or maybe when you're doing your boss battles or whatever, right? Taking him out, him or her or whoever, just for a spin, just to try it out. I think it's like, it gives you a little taste, right? You start seeing how hard that Escanor is hitting. You're like, ooh, maybe I should spend 900 gems on this guy, I think it's a little good advertisement, a little teaser. So maybe they'll keep doing that in the future. A couple other PSAs that I want to put out there, because like a lot of these, you got to really dig through the patch notes sometimes to find these hidden gems. But one real hidden gem that will get you 200 anvils if you've got a lot of R pendants sitting around. Those like the R pendants, the ones that level up or limit break your R characters, your Twiggos, your Marmoses that you probably have a lot of. You can actually exchange them in the King shop, the King Exchange shop, for 1 anvil each. So if you've got 200 of these R pendants, you can get 200 anvils. Now, unfortunately, it does cap out at 200. So I had 600 of them. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get 600 anvils. I started tapping. I was getting pretty excited. But it does cap out at 200. But hey, 200 anvils for a resource that you probably won't be needing any more of. It's a great time to take advantage of it. And you know what? Even if you don't have all your R characters to level 80, or you're like a little bit short on those, it might be good to use those now, because those R pendants, you're going to get a ton of them going forward. You probably don't need to level 80 your Freesias or I don't even remember which characters are R's, but your like, weird R characters that no one really uses anyways. So you try and get those anvils while this event's here. Get those 200, because presumably this event will come around again, and you can just keep cashing in on those 200 anvils, and you're going to be getting so many more again later. So it doesn't really matter if you don't have quite enough, if you cap out, if you like clear your shop of all those R pendants in your box. You can also trade your SR pendants to SSR pendants. This isn't as beneficial because it's a 10-to-1 ratio, and most of us probably still need some of those SR pendants, but there is that option if you're really, really short on SSR pendants. But the one big thing that I'm kind of regretting that I didn't know about until today is the fact that if you enhance gear today for the duration of this event, it actually costs 50% less redstones. Redstones is one of those things that I'm always really short on, trying to make like a ton of gear for everybody. It feels like every unit you gotta, create like a brand new patch of gear for them or whatever. Now you don't have to spend half as much. So if you've got 50 million gold, whatever, sitting in your account from last weekend, say like gold farming, now's a good time. Go in the equipment gacha, get a bunch of those redstones, and start spending them on enhancing gear. Because hey, it's half as much. You get twice as many sets. Obviously, this isn't for blue stones as well, but still, getting those redstones 50% is great. Did you guys save these redstones, or are you like me? Are you like tapped out of redstones now, and money too? Because I spent all my gold on gear gachas and upgrading gear yesterday, one day too early.
Yeah, I've got
last
money.
week I was. Last week I was doing exactly what you did, Daz. I was using my stones, kind of just upgrading gear, and I even went up to the PvP shop. Kind of, you're allowed to get 1,000, and I've been doing that method to get my redstones, because salvaging equipment isn't enough for the amount of sets I'm having to build for Guild Wars. So yeah, I'm tapped out, man. This event came a little bit too late for me.
It happens. How about you, Sandyy?
Yeah, I've got the money, but I have no stones.
Well, that's the gear gachas for, I guess. But you know what I really want to hear though, Sandyy, is your poem, your ode to Estarossa. If you didn't catch the last episode, Novage and Sandyy battled in a Jeopardy-style trivia game that I hosted, and Novage demolished Sandyy. And at stake, well, we were wrestling with the idea of maybe having the loser shave an eyebrow, but we decided instead to go with the loser had to write a love poem, since it was around Valentine's Day, or I guess it still is around Valentine's Day, to their favorite character in game. Sandyy, who's your favorite character, and can we hear your love sonnet to them, please?
Of course. My favorite character is Estarossa, and I kind of revealed that on my YouTube channel from a fan who asked. So here goes my poem, and I'm gonna spill my guts out. Please don't laugh at me, guys. So to bay or not to bay? That is the question only you can answer. My dear Estarossa, you make me want to do things I'm not supposed to. Am I a sinner to be loving a fallen angel? Nay, I say, unless you command me so. But even then, they would have to put me to the guillotine to stop me from loving you. Your protective nature is what is so alluring, assuring me that you are a man full of love with no hatred in his heart. Not a foul thing about you, not even your fart. So let me embrace your full counter like wet cement, because once you touch me, your effects are permanent. They say that age is mind over matter. At 380, I think it's about time you date me.
Well done. Well done. Novage, I'm glad that you won last week because we got to hear that awesome ode. Great job, Sandy.
Should I post it on the Netmarble forums? Maybe someone will.
I think that's something that you have to spread and announce to the world. This fantastic love that you have for Estarossa in the poem form. I hope more people get exposed to that. Okay, so now we're going to do our fun segment. 20 questions. Now, again, we're just trying all these fun segments. Let us know in the comments or wherever you email us. Let us know if you like them, if you don't like them. We've tried trivia. We've done Jeopardy. Now we're going to try 20 questions. We'll probably do some other wacky stuff along the way. Some of them are going to work out. Some of them are going to fall flat on their faces. But hey, at least we get points for trying. So if you've ever heard of the game 20 Questions, good chance you probably have. I am going to host it. So I'm going to think of something 7DS related. It can be like a person, a place, a thing, whatever. Sandyy and Novage have, like, we say 20 questions, but maybe I'll just make questions that it takes to figure it out, to try and figure out what I'm thinking about. And they have to ask yes or no questions, and then I have to answer with yes or no. Presumably, it doesn't always work like that, but we'll try our best. So I am thinking of something, and I've got a thought in my head. And hopefully this doesn't take too long, and hopefully it doesn't go too quick. So maybe we'll alternate between Sandy and Novage. You guys can just take turns asking questions until we narrow it down to what it is. So we'll start with Sandy. Go ahead and ask your first question of me.
Is it a girl?
No. Go ahead, Novage.
Is it a boy?
No.
Is it 7DS related?
Yes, definitely. It'd be kind of bad if it wasn't, considering this is a 7DS podcast. But yes, it's definitely 7DS related, and it is not a girl nor a boy. Go ahead, Novage.
Is it one of the 7 deadly sins?
No, it is not one of the 7 deadly sins. You guys really want it to be, though, I can tell. Your line of questioning is already trying to go that direction. And I almost chose one of the 7 deadly sins, but I knew that was going to be way too easy. Okay, Sandy, what do you think now?
Is it a village?
No.
Is it one of the 10 commandments?
No.
Is it a food?
No. I'm giving a lot of no answers. You guys are being pretty specific.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Is it one of the goddesses?
No. I think I might be thinking it's more difficult than I expected because, again, it's still that's about 8 no answers. I'd like to say a yes one of these times. As soon as I get a yes, though, I feel like it's going to go pretty quick. Okay. You can be vague too, right? You can just say is it a character in the game? And that could have eliminated your goddesses, your 7 deadly sins, your commandments, right there, right? Just saying. Not that I should be giving advice on 20 questions, but continue, Sandy.
We got to flip this around. You have to participate.
Yeah, maybe next time you guys can host, and I'll be the one on the hot seat.
Is it a character?
No.
You tricked me.
Well, no.
I thought I had it.
Well, but now think how many things you just axed off that list, right? So it's not a character. It's 70s related. It's not a character. Do you need to phone a friend, Novage?
Is it yeah. Is it a place?
No, it's not a place. It's not a character. I feel like you guys are getting closer now. I can feel it. Sandy, let's get this.
Is it a weapon?
Yes. I told you the first yes was going to make this a lot shorter, and I think I feel like we're 2 or 3 questions away from you guys getting it now. Novage, it's a weapon.
Is it a 7 deadly sin weapon?
Yes. Now it's really narrowed down. Sandy, who's going to get it here? Is it going to be you or Novage? Let's see. You going to take a guess at which one, or are you going to try and narrow it down further? You going to tee up Novage for the win? Not that you guys are competing, but you kind of are.
Yeah. Is it Merlin's orb?
No. 6 left.
Is it I'm gonna go with, since it's the one today, is it Rita?
That is the correct answer, Novage. Congratulations. It was Divine Axe Rita. I figured thematically that made a lot of sense. Wasn't too easy, not too hard. And you know what? I think if we count, that might have been almost exactly 20 questions. So I think you guys did a pretty good job. I'll give you both the win. A+ grade on that one. And this is probably where we're going to end the show. I think just 120. You guys want to do another one? You want to do another one? Yeah, we'll leave it.
I want another one.
You want another one? Okay. I did have another one in my memory bank, so you know what, we'll go with this one, and then after this we'll sign the show off. Okay, so we will start again with Sandy. Go ahead, Sandy. This one's a little bit harder too, but I feel like you guys are better now. So now you've had the warm up question.
Is it a boss?
No.
Is it a character in the game?
No.
Is it a character on the Netmarble forum?
No.
Is it a place?
No. I always love, like, because I know what it is, thinking of these questions and like how I could maybe say yes to some of them, but I'm not going to be like nebulous about this stuff. I'll say yes or no. Go ahead, Sandy.
Is it something from the anime?
Well, it's both in the anime as well as the game, so maybe I'll just say that because that's yes, I guess, but I don't want to be misleading.
Is it a skill in the game?
No. I learned from Jeffrey last week never to talk about skill names again because turns out no one actually knows what most of them are. Yeah, no, this one's you'll be able to figure it out. It just might be a little bit harder than it's a little bit more not abstract, but not obvious. Hi, Sandy. Not a skill, not a place, not a character, not a boss.
Is it an outfit?
Ooh. That is okay. I want to say yes, but I feel like again that might be a little misleading. It is part of some outfits. How about I put that there? So it's outfit related, outfit adjacent. No, not adjacent. It's outfit related.
Is it a transformation or mode?
I'm going to say no because I don't really know what you're talking about. It's pretty simple. Don't overthink the outfit thing. It's cosmetic is, I guess, what it is. So it's a cosmetic thing, not necessarily a cosmetic item in the game.
Is it acquired by an affinity? That's too specific.
Maybe. Like I said, it's not a specific outfit. So it's just something that is like visually, cosmetically applicable to specific characters. And that's actually a big hint. If you don't guess in a couple more, if you don't start getting closer, I'm going to give you a big hint in a couple questions as well. But go ahead, Novage.
It's a tough one.
It is. Okay, I'll give you the hint. So it's something that both myself and Novage have, but this one is much better. You asked for a slow one.
Is it muscle?
No, but it almost kind of rhymes with muscle. At least the first part of it. The
Mustache?
Mustache.
Oh.
Well, we're getting closer, so it is a mustache.
Is it Escanor's beard?
Escanor's mustache. I'll give it to you right there. That's what I was
Okay.
thinking of. We're going with the one theme again. That one was a tough one. I was like, I definitely got to give you guys something here to like bring on. I was even like scratching my mustache, trying to like bring attention to it a little bit here. But yeah, Escanor's mustache is much nicer than mine and Novage's. No offense, Novage. No offense to me. But you can't really beat Escanor's stash. That thing is fantastic. And to be honest with you, I don't know how you could play 20 questions without thinking about that, because that's like the thing that I think about all the time when I'm playing this game. And what a better note to end the show on than Escanor's mustache. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on the Boar Hat Tavern, a 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross podcast. We stream this show live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Boar Hat Tavern, every week on Monday nights at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time, though next week we may have to adjust that for a special guest. Keep an eye out for that in our Twitter, Instagram feeds. We'll be announcing that kind of stuff right after weekly in-game maintenance, when that typically starts, 9:30 p.m. Sandy, where can people find you if they're looking for your videos and stuff we keep talking about?
Yeah, so I finally got my own URL, guys, making it big. So www.youtube.com/Sandy with the double Y 7DS.
Hitting it big. Nice. All three of us are members of the Global Guild Denied, part of the Scoundrels Alliance. If you'd like to come out and hang out with us, or maybe even join our ranks, because we actually are recruiting right now, you can poke your heads into our Discord. The link's in the description. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email us anytime at podcast@boarhattavern.com, or follow us on Instagram or Twitter at @boarhattavern. You also subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you happen to find your podcast online. Also leave us like a 5-star review, thumbs up, comment, all that kind of stuff. If you do too, we'll actually read those out on the show, as long as they're like good 5-star reviews. None of these like 1-star review stuff, because we don't want to bring light to those. We'll dust those ones under the rug. You can also find our show on our website at boarhattavern.com, which is still horrible. Please don't go there. We'd like to thank many people. First off, Madeline Marois for crafting our killer logo, which we were supposed to talk about at the top of our show, but I totally missed that one. We got a new logo. It's much better than the one that Novage put together in like 5 minutes in his free time. We were scrambling to get the first show together. Madeline Marois is actually my niece, and she put together a great logo. It's the cover art for our podcast now. Hopefully that updates on all the podcast stuff soon, but we'll be having it on our YouTube or Twitter and all that kind of stuff. It's a really cool logo. If you're watching this right now or watching the YouTube video, it's down in the corner there too. We like to also thank Streetwise Rhapsody from YouTube for composing our awesome cover of the Grand Cross theme song that's at the beginning of the show. Andre Bobet from ArtStation for letting us use his like amazing 3D renders of the Boar Hat Tavern. We use those for like our like outro screen as well as our intro screen for our like waiting screen for Twitch. And you can find all their work. The websites are in the descriptions below, so you can check that out there. But everybody, thanks for listening. Sandyy, Novage, thanks as always. Everybody, have a great week.
Bye.